Good morning, Vietnam.
Morning, coffee moaners. How are you? Welcome.
Good morning. How are we all?
Welcome to our little home.
Welcome to our little hub. Let's call it a hub.
Just to say,
Oh,
I might
right.
have to go if I get a call. I'm waiting for a bit of an urgent call.
Right.
So I might have to go, but I will pop back. How are we all?
How are you?
It's unusual for me to be here for on a Friday.
Yeah, hashtag fuck off Friday, and you're not fucked off.
We were just saying how fortunate it was that we got the cups the right way round, because I just made a cup of tea and look what I got. And what did you get?
Say?
Angel face.
Oh. Bell end.
Do you think that should be your new pet name for me, Angel Face? Would it sound weird?
Yeah.
What is your pet name for me? You don't have one, do you?
Flabby Labia.
Oh, Mark. I can't believe you just said that. Well, I hope we get penalised
Flabia.
by YouTube.
They wouldn't understand what that meant.
But anyway.
Morning, everyone.
What is your pet name for me?
I haven't got a pet name. I don't do pet names. I think men who give pet names run the risk of being ick.
I think Angel Face is quite nice.
If I called you something, what do I call
you?
you?
Try and come up with one now, or maybe our subs could help. What's a really nice or funny pet name that we could give each other?
I call you Donut.
Find one.
I call you Donut a lot. You Donut.
That, darling, that is not a term of endearment. Mind you, I do love donuts.
Well, what would you call me?
Anything else. I call you
Nads. Lucy Williams says I call you Nads. That's
but
nickname.
Nads, that's not everyone calls me Nads. That's my nickname. That's not a pet name. That's not like Angel
Face. What do you want from me?
Buttercup. What about Buttercup?
Because you're not a cow. That's what
so
you call it. If you had a pet Frisian cow, you'd call it Buttercup.
I think there's something wrong with your synapses. They don't fuse.
Nads.
Only you would say, I can't call you Buttercup because you're not a cow.
Yeah,
that's weird
the kind of name for a cow.
It's not.
Curly Muffin, says the country pumpkin.
Curly Muffin. Curly Muff. Strangely.
Curly Muff. That's as bad as Flabby Labia.
No, it's not. It's much nicer. Flabby Labia or Curly Muff?
The Curly Muff.
I mean, oh my God. What would you prefer to be called, guys? Curly Muff or Flabby Labia?
And not a nickname. Give me, what's it called? What do you just call them?
A pet name.
A pet name.
Well, no, it's not called. What is it called? It's called a pet name.
What's a pet name?
What do I call you?
Like Mookie, or Pooper Pooper. I mean, it's so pathetic. Yeah. No one has pet names. Mind you, maybe do you guys have pet names for anyone? Does anyone have a pet name?
Curly Sue, says
nickname. They used to call me at school. I was called Bladders.
Bladderly.
Bladders. No, just
Julie
Bladders.
Allen is off to Vietnam next week. How wonderful. Boo Boo, Selena Luffolk. What about a Boo Boo?
Oh,
hey,
no,
Boo Boo.
I suddenly want to be sick.
Okay. Well, nobody's come up with anything.
Well, because people don't have pet names.
They do.
They don't. They have nicknames.
My God.
People have abbreviations, nicknames.
People call each other things like
what?
Fubby Wubby Bear and things like that.
And that's disgusting.
Why?
It makes me feel
excuse
sick.
Me, you're the person that said Flabby Labia. I think you've been the most disgusting person in the room today.
So I call Maddie Madalushka and I call Kiki Kooks.
I call Kiki Kukana.
Yeah. So I suppose are those pet names?
No,
or
those
nicknames?
are nicknames.
Those are nicknames.
Sweet Cheeks. There you go. Call me Sweet Cheeks. That's from Selena Luffolk.
I'm thinking of a bottom now.
Well, that's okay.
Sweet Cheeks.
Oh no. Not if you're going to do it. Not if you can take a whole new personality on Sweet Cheeks. If you suddenly go into Nick Parsons, it's not going to work.
Sweet Cheeks.
Pet names give me the ick.
Yeah, pet names are icks, Phil.
But I think the thing about pet names is that they're supposed to give anyone outside of those pet names the ick, aren't they? It's supposed to be a personal thing, yeah.
Yeah, Debbie O'Keefe, spousal, partner, pet names, give me the ick.
Because I think if you use them in front of other people, it is icky. But I think in your
Terry Collins, treacle.
Treacle.
I sometimes say treacle.
No, you don't. Not to me. Never call me treacle. I see that as a granddad word. My granddad used to call me treacle.
I say it to the kids. All right, treacle.
Okay, treacle.
Donut, you donut. I say that all the time.
Fiona McCormack's husband calls her a swamp duck. Each to his own.
What the fuck does that
Well,
mean?
maybe it means a lot of things that we don't know about.
It doesn't sound
It's
nice.
personal.
Swamp
No, but it
duck.
might be. Maybe they met in a swamp
And they go bird watching.
and there were ducks.
Do you wear waders? Do you wear waders? If you wear waders, that makes sense.
Sweetheart or darling is still endearing. Exactly. Calls me sweetheart. No, you don't.
Yes,
Why
I
don't
do.
you call me
Sweetie. I call you sweetie.
Sweetie.
Well, I don't say it like that. I go, sweetie.
Anyway, we've digressed.
Elsa Pop says there's a new drama next week on ITV about Ruth Ellis, the last woman to be executed in the UK.
I'm fascinated by that story.
If you haven't seen it, check out Miranda Richardson in Dance with a Stranger.
Oh, it's so good.
Brilliant film.
Such a good film.
Yeah, such a good film. My mum's, I can't remember why, but there was a story running that my mum's lawyer for something, I think maybe the divorce from my dad, was also, what was the name of the woman who was the last one? Ruth Ellis was also Ruth Ellis's lawyer. My fiance calls me Bambi, says Jordan
is that because you've got long legs that slip all around?
Didn't Vera Duckworth's husband call her Swamp Duck, Patsy? Oh, that'll be it. Jackie Valina, now they're coming out. Look, Choochie Face.
Choochie Face.
I call my grandson my teddy bear. Does that count? Yeah.
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 It does.
Yeah.
It absolutely does. Okay.
Are you bored of pet names now?
No.
But
I'm just very unimpressed with our lot giving us good ones because they're usually very good at this sort of thing.
Because no one does pet names.
No, but I said they can do a funny one, a rude one, a silly one, a nice one. Because we often say that we feel like they know us better than we know ourselves.
Well, maybe today they don't. Maybe they know that it's so ick that
Chucky Face. Chuchi. Oh, that's Chucky Williams.
My dad called me Little Ings.
Oh.
Ellen.
You see, you're all coming to your dads, which are nicknames. Oh, no, I suppose they do start with family, don't they? Pet names.
You've got this weird distinction between nicknames and pet. You've just done what? Oh, I'm out of this conversation. It's fucking annoying. You flabby lab.
Oh, Elizabeth Gordon. I'm called. Hi, Elizabeth. How are you? I'm called Buffle because when I was little, I couldn't say my name properly.
I said Elizabeth.
I thought you were going to say you used to say it for your duffel coat, your buffle coat. That's sweet.
That is sweet.
That's very sweet.
Okay, what are we talking about this morning? We're going to be talking about Starmer.
My name is Habibi. Habibti, Sophia. Hi.
We're going to be talking about Starmer, the Smarmer. Or did he actually pull a rabbit out of a hat? Actually, being fair to him, a bit smarmy, but yeah.
Well, we'll discuss that.
We'll discuss that. We're going to talk about the BBC's apology climb down, the issues, the controversy, the drama surrounding the documentary, Surviving a War Zone, Gaza, the film that's caused a huge outcry, which we've got still some very strong opinions on. We're going Gene Hackman, the tragic story yesterday that him and his much younger wife were found dead in his property. The mystery deepens and thickens with that. And we have something in the title that's taken up a lot of words for an article that has zero substance. So I'm really annoyed it's up there, occupying my much cherished word
We were going to
count.
reveal that to them.
Yeah, but it's in the title, Regular Sex Good for the Brain. Well, is it? So
we'll discuss.
So we'll discuss all of that. So
I'm just texting my mum.
What do you want to start with, Nat?
You start, Tony.
Okay. Don't worry. Nat's just texting her mum. I was just going to have a drink, actually. You're going to fill in for me there.
Oh, okay. So actually, you know why I am texting her, because I was trying to remember the name of the film that my dad did with Gene Hackman. A Real Gent.
Yes.
If I remember rightly, I think my dad really liked him. And in fact, Denise was saying the other day, yesterday, Denise Walsh was saying that recently she saw him walking along. I think she was in LA and she saw him and she said, God, she said he was so old. I said, well, he is old. She goes,
He's 95.
Yeah, he's 95.
Yeah.
And she said, she went over and she said, I just had to say to him, just thank you, giving me so much. Everything. She says he was just charm personified. He was so lovely. It's a very, very sad way to go, to be there for so long.
Absolutely.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Well, the story today is police are searching for answers after Gene Hackman and his wife were found dead. By all accounts, they had been dead for some time, 2 weeks or so. They had partially mummified. They'd been there for so long. Pills were found surrounding the bodies or in areas of the property. They were found in separate rooms. There was the idea that potentially it was a carbon monoxide poisoning. I know whatever the local gas company for the area were involved in the initial kind of reports, and a gas leak or a sort of poison leak had been discounted, the last I'd heard. Images are being published in the Daily Mail today of the daughters who hadn't spoken to their father in at least, I think, they hadn't seen him for 2 weeks, maybe hadn't spoken 2 months. And images were taken of them getting breakfast nearby as they obviously shared in their sadness, and they spoke to a couple of journalists.
I think it was them at the beginning that thought it might be
a gas leak.
A gas leak.
Yeah, they suggested the carbon monoxide narrative. But the full kind of coroner's report is going to be revealed, I believe, later today. They're doing a toxicology report because there are pills there, etc. It's such a, and by all accounts, Gene Hackman was found, he was in a chair with his stick alongside him. Somewhere I read that there was some belief suggestion that maybe he'd had a fall sometime just shortly before passing away. But it's an incredibly odd situation.
Odd.
And it's incredibly expansive.
His wife was 61,
61
right?
or 63, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very bizarre situation. And of course, I'm sure it will be raked over and raked over.
Can I ask this question? So when the police go in, and the first thing they said yesterday, there was no suspicion of foul play, and then question marks seem to be hovering over everything. How can you be so certain there's not foul play if you don't know what's happened?
I wonder if anyone here knows. I wonder if they mean no immediate, like
they say there were no
like they hadn't been shot.
Yeah, they said there were no obvious injuries, but I mean the bodies were partially decomposed.
But it
could have been poisoned.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying these.
It must mean just as you look at it right there and then. It must mean that.
But he says, I think there was also a report. One of the doors was left open, or a door into the property was open. I mean, I don't understand how you can say no foul play if you don't know what's happened. I've never understood this. I've never understood.
But did it say as yet?
No, it just said no. They said at that point there's no evidence of foul play. But yeah, no criminal activity, maybe not a break-in, maybe not any sort of obvious kind of weaponry or anything like that. But anyway, so we'll
Mississippi burning.
Oh, was it your dad in Mississippi?
No,
burning?
He wasn't.
No.
But YouTube said there's a whole generation that haven't seen Mississippi.
Oh my
burning.
God, it's such a good film.
And
it's a whole generation.
Oh, here it is. Mississippi burning was the first time Gen X kids learned about the US civil rights movement. Because that stuff it isn't taught here. Yeah, it was just, oh my God, it was just, it was utterly brilliant. He was fantastic in it, wasn't he?
Oh, he was brilliant. I think
I
think he won or was certainly nominated for an Oscar for that. He was also in Bonnie and Clyde as well. I think that was one of his first films. The French Connection is where I know him best as Popeye Doyle. You know, I mean, he was so cool without trying to be. He was one of those actors who wasn't trying to be cool. He just ended up being cool, and he was the best Lex Luthor you could have hoped for. He carried comedy in Superman. He played the villain in Superman. He was comedic. He was camp. He was incredibly versatile actor.
My mum's just saying here it was Misunderstood, the film that he was in. My dad was in, and he had scenes with him in Something in the Green, but not Misunderstood. He thinks one of them has had the names changed to Dinosaurs, the film he was in.
Oh.
I said to him, do you know that he died yesterday? She said, yes, of course. I'm just trying to solve the mystery around it. That's my mum.
Right.
87.
Yeah.
She is. She'll be like, if my mum had been born in a different age, she would have been one of these like quiet internet sleuth.
Yeah. Well, I think she's a spy.
Yeah.
I think
we always
a spy.
have that joke with her.
Yeah, I think she
But
wears
anyway,
high-tech
may he
vision
and his
goggles.
wife rest in peace. A really unpleasant end to have been there for so long. It really, it's very sad, but I'm sure it will be revealed eventually.
Okay, let's talk about the uncomfortable topic of the BBC documentary. Obviously, the BBC has now pulled the documentary Gaza, How to Survive a War Zone. This has been, we talked at great length, quite sort of emotionally about this documentary, the need to see something that was portraying the experiences of children in a part of the world that, as you rightly said, Save the Children says, is the most dangerous.
It's the deadliest place on earth to be a child is Gaza.
Right, yeah. So the deadliest place on earth, remember that, to be a child is Gaza. So, okay, it transpires. And I don't know if you remember when we first talked about this, I think this might have, did we talk about it on Monday? Was it this week? When we first talked about it, I think the first thing almost that came out of my mouth was a comment on, and it seemed might have seemed bureaucratic, unemotional, and not speaking to the raw emotion of the importance of making a program like this. But weirdly, the program maker in me, having made countless documentaries for the BBC and various broadcasters, the program maker in
straight
me
away you said
was immediately hampered from being able to actually access all of that by thinking, if they've made due diligence mistakes, compliance mishaps, it will end up unraveling badly. Yeah. And I think I said from the get-go, I said, we have no way of knowing until it was looked into whether compliance checks, whether due diligence was done. And my fear, and it's come true, is that if due diligence and compliance had been found to have been sort of neglectful on a program of this importance, and we're going to talk about how else you could have made any sort of documentary like this in a minute, but if it was found that something hadn't been said or shared with the commissioning editors, told to the BBC, or shared with the viewer, this will undo the entire documentary's impact and efficacy in sharing really a part of the conflict that needs to be told and needs to be shared and can't be shared due to the Israeli aggression and the fact that Israel shoots journalists on sight. And I think that context is where I then found myself landing, and I think we found ourselves landing with this documentary, which is there's going to be it's always going to be an imperfect and imprecise approach to making any documentary within the Gaza zone. There's no way you can actually make a film in there with objective filmmakers and journalists on the ground, because Israel has made it the most deadliest place, not just for children, but I would argue one of the deadliest places for journalists. And I think that's almost a bigger question.
200 journalists so far that have been killed, I think. I'll double check that. But
now, the guy who did the original investigation, who sounded like the cat that had caught the cream this morning on the radio, said this is just the tip of the iceberg and this is the beginning of everything. His actual comeback, his actual analysis on this is, why are we going into Gaza to make something if we can't guarantee that Hamas's thumbprints aren't going to be on it? Which is odd, because why isn't that question actually being asked of Israel? The question that should be asked of everyone, really, before even kind of, and the BBC has made mistakes here. The program makers have made mistakes categorically. And
that's so frustrating, because what we've got now is a lot of red meat to distract from the content of the documentary, which is hugely important. And Mark and I were talking about this morning, because obviously Mark knows much better about on the other side of the camera.
Amount of due diligence one has to go through.
So some of the headlines that you've been seeing is that the BBC have funded Hamas. So it appears from what is available at the moment is that the production company paid the mother of the son to do the voiceover. So I was saying to Mark, if they had said that to the BBC, would that have been okay? Would that have been, is it all about that they didn't say it and not actually what was done?
Right. I was listening to David Elsting. Just want to read down YouTube's thing so we don't hold it up all the time. BBC has to be given some margin. It's not a normal production. They shouldn't go there. They couldn't go there to do it 100% due diligence. Quite right. And then Gabrielle says, as a chiming in on that, they shouldn't have made the documentary if they couldn't give honest and objective points of view. Okay, I want to hold that thought, Gabrielle. let me just explain to you that there's a lot of debate amongst documentary makers. Documentaries are rarely objective. Decisions are made on how to edit. Decisions are made on what bits to include. Decisions are made on what questions to ask. So objectivity is no
matter what the subject.
Yeah, go to film school and you will learn that objectivity in documentary probably occupies two years of a 3-year course doing documentary. It's a problematic and troublesome topic. Mitri makes a very, very valid point. There's no way you could have on the ground done 100% due diligence. What I believe they should have done with this documentary, and this is the way they should have gone about it, was not been ashamed or tried to hide the nature of any of the contributors that they got. They should have stated it on the tin that one of the boys in the film was the son of essentially a Hamas governmental minister, not of the military wing, but still a designated terrorist organization, but of the civic, like a council worker. You know,
I think a lot of people don't realize that the government is a Hamas government that has been elected in, and so it's not like, you know, he's standing there with the guns and down the tunnels. There are like different sections to Hamas. Like you'll see when they're reporting on the amount of people that have been killed, they said source Hamas-led government thing. So he's of the government.
But let me tell you what I think absolutely happened here. Having been, you know, in that really sharp-ended position as a program maker, where you have legal teams coming at you, compliance teams coming at you, commissioning editors coming at you, schedulers coming at you saying, where are we putting this in the slot? What's the drama? You know, you've got so many competing elements here. And what will have happened with this is, and what could have happened is, they could have put just a description of who the contributors were. And
it would have still gone through, would it?
No, no. That's what they should have done.
Right.
But in doing that, and that's what I would have done, you were running the risk that the BBC would have bottled it and pulled the documentary.
Yeah.
And that's why I believe the production company, because it was a production company making this for the BBC, did not share their information with the BBC.
Was wrong.
And that was wrong. But the risk here, what's happened now is it's given an open goal to every critic of both the BBC, but every critic of every celebrity or person in the business who signed the petition saying that, you know, we shouldn't cave to pressure. These stories need to be told.
I proudly am a signature.
As am I. There should, you know, there shouldn't be a sort of a racist kind of, you know, what's it called, whitewashing, if you like, of everyone in Palestine is this, and the experiences of everyone in Palestine can only be seen through
everyone is a terrorist, which we do hear all the time coming from the Israeli government, that every single Palestinian is a terrorist. You know, we hear that a lot, and this is what the letter to the BBC was about, which, as we say, we're both.
And that's where I disagree with you, Gabrielle, because what you're saying is if you can't be objective, you can't make a film. I disagree. There are two different approaches to this that Danny Cohen, etc., who complained to the BBC should have attacked first, which is Danny Cohen is the former head of the BBC, former controller. I've worked with him, former director of the BBC. He was one of many who signed a petition calling for this film to be pulled down, suggesting that the BBC is a Hamas apologist, Zionist criticizing anti-Israel organization. Which is odd, because all I'm seeing here and we'll hear everywhere else is everyone's saying it's a pro-Israeli. I mean, literally the BBC can't win in any of these debates. And so, but the first argument that should be had here is, why can't documentaries be made in this area? And if I was making the program, I would have gone cap in hand to the BBC and said, this is the nature of this contributor. He's doing the narration. This is what we've paid his mother to just basically get him to do the voiceover and record it and what have you. Total transparency. We have to make part of the press push on this documentary and part of the story, the fact that the only way we can make films is by handing cameras into an potentially unreliable and uncontrollable
because it's a war
space.
And because it is actually a government.
You have to turn that into a virtue.
Run government.
Absolutely.
I mean, and the thing is, the only information that we get is that's official is from the IDF. You know, that's what we get out to the West. So, you know, as Mark said, is any information that we get truly objective? And
also, so what are we saying here? That we can only ever hear and receive the Israeli narrative of events. We are not allowed, and we are disallowed, any aspect of the experience to be told from Gaza, because as some of the
children, like so many people say, okay, right, his dad was the ex-agricultural minister in the government, but these children are still going through what they are going through, you know. And I think to say if it is what we're reading, if the payment was to the mother who did the voiceover, then for headlines to say BBC funds Hamas, I think that feels to me, I don't know, Mark, whether this is true, it feels like misinformation. Am I right in saying that?
It is, Miss.
Are they funding Hamas?
The problem with all of this is this, and I've said it many times, the entire response by the lobby group that has responded to this documentary is entirely equivalent and like the Israeli government when they hit an ambulance and they say it's Hamas. It's a similar kind of optical illusion that's being created here. What's trying to be said is any engagement with what they're trying to say is any engagement with anyone in Gaza runs the risk of being Hamas propaganda.
Well, because they say that all the time, the government. They say everybody is Hamas.
Yeah.
And which, as Northern Soldier, all this is a moot point. This level of so-called compliance and due diligence is a totally one-way street when the leader and entire cabinet of Israel openly talk about extermination of animals. Well, not the entire cabinet, but there certainly are certain people. I think Gove who said that.
Yoav Gallant.
Yoav Gallant. But yes, exactly. You know, so let us not lose sight of the content of this documentary because the production company have not been transparent in the way that is expected by the BBC. And the BBC actually, even though I have loads of problems with the BBC and the way that they've reported on this whole thing, the BBC did ask. You know, so if they've been
repeated times,
so you know, to say that BBC is funding Hamas is just wrong. It's just wrong, and it's just red meat. It's to get everyone all angry again with the BBC.
I mean, David Elstein, who former head of Channel 5, was on the radio this morning. Worked with him as well years ago, and he just made a really interesting point. He's quite conservative. He's not someone I necessarily agree with on a lot. But he had a very sort of cursory, he'll have received countless documentaries in front of him all the time.
Yeah.
As he rightly said, this is one of those documentaries that when they land on your desk, you go, okay, plop the health warning on it, and then let people make their own choices. Because this is
the health warning being
this is the son of a Hamas governmental
if only
official.
they'd done that.
And I think we said this right at the beginning.
You said it as soon as you read it.
The first thing I said when this story started to break was, if there is any shred of they haven't done this, they haven't ticked this box, they haven't done that, the whole kit and caboodle goes out the window, and it's absolutely an own goal and an open goal for any opponents of the BBC.
And so many column inches are given to this, and Nick Ferrari is salivating.
Yeah.
Does Nick Ferrari salivate at the fact that no child in Gaza has received a day of education? All schools are so damaged that they can't be repaired. You've all seen photographs of the place just absolutely flattened. There is no health care. It is women are having pregnancies with absolutely no medical care, giving birth to babies with absolutely no medical care the whole way through. Women are having cesareans without anesthetic. It is hell on earth there, and this is the red meat to distract. So.
And interestingly, in many regards, Nadia, obviously the highest profile, probably the first people to break cover on this story around the petition that wanted to have the documentary reinstated. Because, as we're saying, a massive balls up has happened here by the program makers. The intention behind it and the subject matter is as valid and as important as it was at the point that we hoped and trusted that all the kind of boxes had been ticked prior to this.
Babies are freezing. Babies are freezing to death. Fact. So for anyone that wants to troll me underneath and say, well, how do you know this is true? It's true.
But the question I would like to ask, especially people within the media who have really sort of, banged the drum, to get this documentary pulled down. What I'm amazed about that group of people is that none of them have demanded freedom of access and transparency to cover the situation on the ground in Gaza. I don't understand why. The only way this whole debacle could have been avoided, if there was unfettered access allowed to journalists, that when you stood up with a press cap or a press chest suit on in Gaza, you wouldn't get shot at. Why isn't that the first petition signed by everyone who's tried to get this documentary pulled down and signed by everyone who's trying to get this documentary put back up? We could all find agreement as workers in the media, which is what principally both groups of signatories are, that freedom of speech and freedom of press coverage sits even above discussions on the rights and wrongs of this.
I think there's about 800-900 signatories now. Mark, could we put the letter underneath here in a link? Because I really, you'll hear about, the letter, and these people wrote the letter. Oh, I bet they're sorry now that they've signed that letter. I'm as proud today that we've signed the letter, because actually it does take a bit of bravery to stand up, and because of what comes at you if you try and speak up for children being slaughtered. What comes at you is heavy shit. But many of you may not have seen the letter that we all signed. And when you listen to certain radio stations whipping up the hate, it's good if you know what actually the letter said. So Mark will put it up.
Just a couple of your comments. Bun TV, but Western media everywhere is fine to broadcast the lies by the Israeli government and Zionist regime. What a disgusting farce.
Well, we only get information from the IDF. That's where we get.
That's the only information we can get.
That's where we get the official, press statements.
And Fran, I hope you're well, matey. The world is full of rage baiting and culture war. It benefits all media to create divide and anger, and this is yet another example of it. Meanwhile, vintage verbiage, there was no outrage at the ban on journalists to report from within. That's been the drama I've been beating.
And apparently a guy on the radio today, who I think has led this, said, well, it's very easy, just nobody go there.
Yeah.
All right, well, all right.
No. Well, the guy who led the investigation into this documentary actually said, if you can't guarantee objective, you shouldn't go in there and make any films. But he hasn't tried.
So that's freedom of speech then out the window, is it?
It's bizarre. It's bizarre.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah. Okay.
We're all going Trump mad.
Okay, well, let's watch something that's quite squirmy, shall we? It's quite squirmy. I personally, for MeTube, I know we don't always see eye to eye on Starmer. I think Starmer did really well.
Yes.
I think he did really, really well, if I'm really honest.
And if anyone's new to the channel, there's an awful lot we say about Starmer.
Yes.
So, but it's also
Trump,
really important not to just be entrenched in one way of thinking, and what do we want? We want this country that we do love to be okay and do well. So where we think, and look, I know very little about politics. I'm the woman on the street with my opinions around what I see. I haven't studied politics or anything, but when I see him doing something that feels right, it's important, I think, to say, isn't it? And you know a lot more about politics.
No. I don't think at all. I mean, you're expert in emotional politics.
I'm woman on the street politics, but you've actually studied politics, so it's different.
But what I would say is, we all know, everyone in the world knows Keir Starmer and Donald Trump. There's virtually nothing about their approaches and attitudes to life that will marry, I'd have thought, privately.
Yes. And what a minefield.
And this will have been an absolute minefield. And I was talking yesterday, taking the piss. I guess I can't, Starmer really doesn't do it for me.
I was really worried.
I thought, oh my God, he's going to go in, he's going to be insipid. Macron did all the hand jiggery pokery, and now Starmer's going to walk in and it's going to be flaccid. I'm not suggesting for a minute any rockets fired off and it was like, woohoo, but he went in and he did the job.
What he's got to do is just keep a lid.
Things down.
Because, who is it there said he was literally dancing with the devil.
Precisely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it needed.
MeTube. Starmer did very well, played to the narcissism, corrected Trump and Vance on facts. Exactly.
He was like an excellent wife with a very controlling, maniacal husband who just is just keeping things safe.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad that he took my advice via Anthony Scaramucci.
Oh, well, let's watch it. It's
my pleasure to bring from His Majesty the King a letter. He sends his best wishes and his regards, of course, but he also asked me to bear this letter and bring it to you. So can I present the letter from the King to you?
Thank you very much.
Touch of the shoulder, I think.
Am I supposed to read it right now?
Yeah, please do.
I will do.
I've got to tell him what your reaction is, so I need to know.
He is a great gentleman. A great gentleman. Well, that is really nice. I must make sure his signature's on that. Otherwise, it's not quite as meaningful. It is, and that's quite a signature, isn't it? Beautiful. He's a beautiful man, a wonderful man, and
beautiful.
We appreciate it. I've gotten to know him very well, actually. First term and now second term.
Narcissist.
Yes. What I haven't got yet is your answer.
Yeah.
I do need to.
The answer is yes. On behalf of our wonderful First Lady, Melania, and myself, the answer is yes, and we look forward to being there and honoring the King and honoring really your country. Your country is a fantastic country, and it'll be our honor to be there. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. President. I shall happily take that back to His Majesty.
So if you saw Trump's America last week that we did, I said that Anthony Scaramucci's ex-aide had said the most important thing that Keir Starmer can do is get the King to invite him for a state visit, and he's got to bring him the finest wines of mankind from the cellar and hand them to him, even though he doesn't drink, so he can go back and say, the goddamn King gave me the best wine from the palace, and he's done it.
They've just got to keep him on side for 4 more years, and that's great.
That's how he has to play him.
What I loved as well, I was reading in The Guardian this morning that when Starmer and his team boarded the flight, after having it, there was a big party reception at the ambassador's home, where Peter Mandelson, as you know, the US ambassador now. So they had a big party and everything. I'm sure a few drinks were had there. But as they all got onto the plane to come back to the UK, Starmer and his team, they all ordered twice as many drinks than they took to get out there. Because the relief, I mean, they've literally, and look, we know that tonight Trump will go on Truth Social
and say something different.
Some lunacy.
Because whoever's in front of him, he says what they want to hear, because he's the strangest human being on earth. Because in one way, well, it's a narcissist, isn't it? He doesn't give a shit about anyone. But in another way, he wants everyone to love him. And so he's just so unpredictable. So you've just got to stay even. Yeah,
and not to massage Starmer too much, because we are so aggrieved with his attitude towards Gaza.
Concerned.
Not a single question about the Middle East. Certainly not in public anyway, or Gaza. No comment there about Trump's vision for Gaza. But
well, Trump's got such control now of the press that he probably well, I don't know, there would have been British press there as well, but would he be able to say you're not allowed to ask certain questions or not?
Well, he's got control of the press gaggle, hasn't he, now, Trump? I mean, Reuters, I think I understand it, Reuters have been banned, as well as is it the Associated Press? I think there's two.
Tube reckons that the core diplomacy will stick. He may say weird things. He might say not bit the core.
I think so. It feels like Macron and Starmer have had some impact, actually, which is quite astonishing.
Now I see that
Reese Roberts says David Lammy looked like he was holding on to dear life in front of Trump. I saw a cutaway of Lammy, who literally was sat in the front row like this.
Oh, don't bring up David Lammy to me. So was something there that made me smile?
He'll probably post something terrible about our king later today on Instagram.
Oh, I don't think so. He's king obsessed.
And it's a big deal that he's going to get another state visit.
And don't forget that Time magazine where he's made himself a king.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anywho.
So this headline we were going to discuss, but we're not now because it's a load of old bullshit. I'm a neuroscientist. Here's what having regular sex does to your brain and what happens during a long dry spell. We went into this thinking, oh, this will be rich and fun and saucy for a Friday. And what did it say?
Well, it did say something about your amalgamum and your hippocampus.
Very unsexy words, aren't they?
But basically, if you do it regularly and you enjoy it, you'll then do it more, and then it's really good for you.
Basically, my sense of it was, if you have good sex, you're going to enjoy it, and then you're going to want to have more of it. And if you have more of it, it'll be better.
Selling effect. And you can't now just all suddenly go, oh, I better go and have some quick sex for my brain. It's got to be regular.
Oh, God, you took literally the words out of my mouth. That's exactly what I was going to say.
It's got to be very, very regular. Yeah.
Note, regular.
Regular, but also...
just reminding her, regular.
I let you get away with that 3 times. But
did you?
Push it until you're in trouble. Don't start picking up your mug because you know that you're in trouble.
Bell end. Okay.
Right. So, guys,
Friday quiz.
A bit about Friday quiz. I'm going to go. This is this week's one-time only gift that somebody will win. There's only ever going to be these 2 mugs like this on the Curly Cooks of Croydon live cook-along tomorrow. We're also doing Curly Cooks in the morning. God, it's a big day tomorrow. Curly Cooks in the morning and then cook-along in the evening. So if you want to join the members area where you can join the cook-along.
We've got Americans Trump later as well.
That's tonight. Yeah, we've got
Yeah.
America's Trump later as well. We do work very hard.
Sorry, just on the note about sex, Lisa Payne says, for fuck's sake. So it's a bit like cake.
Yeah,
then. Just
it
like
is.
cake or heroin.
So Mark's going to put the link for that up and the link for the letter.
Yes, yeah, we'll do.
That's
After
the
we've done the
love.
Friday quiz. For those of you who are regulars, you know that on a Friday we do a little kind of 7 questions about the news of the week to see how plugged in you've been, to see if you've been listening, actually, and to see if you can go into the weekend feeling like a winner rather than a loser. So it's Friday, me too, but it's Friday, nudge, saying, oh, God, no, I'm in Bell End hell right now. So let's get the questions out, shall we? I'm just going to have to just do a little bit of jiggery pokery over here whilst I pull this up. Do that over there. Get your pens and papers ready. Those of you who aren't up for quizzes, you can head off now. I love that. This is like saying in class, those of you who aren't really interested, you can scoot off now, take an early lunch. But for those of you who are, stick around and let's see if you can get 7 out of 7. So question 1. Hollywood actor Gene Hackman has died aged 95, but for which role did he win his first Oscar? Was it Buck Barrow, A, in Bonnie and Clyde, B, Jimmy Popeye Doyle in The French Connection, or C, Little Bill Daggett in The Unforgiven? For which role did Gene Hackman win his first Oscar? Was it A, Buck Barrow in Bonnie and Clyde, B, Jimmy Popeye Doyle in The French Connection, or C, Little Bill Daggett in Unforgiven? Clint Eastwood's. I remember watching Unforgiven when I was a teenager and finding it really boring, but maybe I should go back. Loved Mississippi Burning, though. It was such a good film. The answer is B, Jimmy Popeye Doyle in The French Connection. Question 2. 3 men are on trial accused of stealing a solid gold toilet from an art exhibition at Blenheim Palace. It was worth nearly £5 million, but how much did it weigh? A, 31 kilograms, B, 64 kilograms, or C, 98 kilograms? He's won 2 Oscars. How much did the golden toilet that was stolen weigh? It was stolen from Blenheim Palace. Was it A? Was it A? It weighed a bit more if you use it. Was it A, 31 kilograms, B, 64 kilograms, or C, 98 kilograms? Shakir Al-Bad says C, 98. Karen Reynolds says B. It's C. The answer is C, 98 kilograms. Question 3. Roanna, a horse believed to be the oldest in the UK, just celebrated her 46th birthday. What was her cake made from? A, linseed mash, grass pellets and grated carrot. B, pumpkin seeds, hay and grated apple. Or C, turnip mash, raisin and banana slices. Sounds like a breakfast I quite like. What was the cake? What was the cake made from that Roanna ate the horse on her 46th birthday? Was it A, linseed mash, grass pellets and grated carrot, B, pumpkin seeds, hay and grated apple, or C, turnip mash, raisins and banana slices? Reese Roberts is right with A. It was the linseed mash, grass pellets and grated carrot. Question 4. Friedrich Merz is soon to become the new Chancellor of Germany after his party won the election. With which party will he first try to form a coalition? A, the AfD, B, the Free Democratic Party, or C, the Social Democrats? With which one of those parties will Friedrich Merz try to form a coalition? A, the far right, AfD, B, the Free Democratic Party, or C, the Social Democrats? Look to Betsy, Margaret O'Brien, Jordan Stevenson, MeTube are all right. It's C, the Social Democrats. Question 5. Foodies in China have been flocking to an unlikely destination after a dish at its canteen went viral on social media. Where have they been dining? A, a funeral home, B, a hospital, or C, a junior school? It's a curious one. Foodies in China have been flocking to an unlikely destination after a dish at its canteen went viral on social media. Where have they been dining? A, a funeral home, B, a hospital, or C, a junior school? Ooh, Bunty V like that. The cake sounds grim. That's why she had a long face. Nay. Nay. The answer is A, a funeral home. Question 6. Hackers stole $1.5 billion worth of cryptocurrency from Dubai-based firm Bybit, the largest theft of its kind. Which specific cryptocurrency did the hackers steal? A, Bitcoin, B, Ethereum, or C, official Trump? Which cryptocurrency did hackers steal in a heist worth $1.5 billion? Was it A, Bitcoin, B, Ethereum, or C, official Trump? Dearheart saying damn a lot. I presume you're not doing too well. Christine Beck, Claire Hayward, the Country Pumpkin all saying Bitcoin. Karen Reynolds says Ethereum, as does Saz W and MeTube. Love you too, Siobhan Manning. It's B, Ethereum. Question 7. Skywatchers have been enjoying the rare treat of seeing the other 7 planets of our solar system in the sky all at the same time. Which term is used to describe the phenomena? A, astronomical alignment. B, celestial cluster. That's what happens when I go to the loo. Sorry, well, when I go to bed at night and I'm feeling sort of romantic, there's an astronomical alignment. When I need the loo, there's a celestial cluster. And when Nadia gets her kit off, there's a planetary parade. Sorry, tickled myself. Which of those is it? A, astronomical alignment, B, celestial clutter, or C, planetary parade? Shakir Al-Bad is looking good. It's C, planetary parade, not A, astronomical alignment. There you go. What did you get, guys? Anyone get 7? Anyone get 6? Hopefully, Faith, you'll have joined the quiz. It's never the same without you, my darling. Reese Roberts, you got C. Well done. Correct. Anyone get V, says Coral Roberts. I like that. Is that a reference to the sci-fi series circa 1974? 6, 8, 9. Helen Prince got 6. Coral Roberts got 6. Jordan Stevenson 6. You are resolutely winners, and you deserve to have a winning weekend. So I hope you all have a lovely day. A Home Time is landing later. A movie review, and America's Trump. Lots and lots of content. And Fiona Cromack got 6 too. And Carol Lewis, well done. Wow, lots of you did really well. Have a lovely day.